So, hello, my name's Jack. I run a design and development agency called Crocs Digital. Alright, I design and build cool systems and I use AI every single day to make money. So, you kind of know that I sort of half know what I'm talking about. And I like San Pellegrino, which is a Brucey bonus. So, today we're going to go over a 6-step formula to write the perfect prompts. Now, I've put beginner's guide, but it isn't really a beginner's guide. This is literally for everyone, because I feel like most people don't actually know how to speak to AI and use it properly. And at the end of this video, I'm actually going to test it and prove everything I'm going to teach right now, actually test it on a live AI model, and show you the stark difference between writing basic task-based prompts and then actually structuring proper prompts that you get the best out of it. Now, yeah, so who is this video for? It's for coders, writers, HR managers, business owners, songwriters, technicians, anyone, literally every single human being on earth. Alright, this is one of the most important skills you'll need to know in the 21st century. As AI gets involved in more and more things, you need to know how to react to it, how to structure things, and how to get the most out of it. Alright, it's not about replacing jobs, it's about enhancing your abilities, cutting time, and focusing on the things that actually matter to move the needle in your business or in your life. Alright, so what do you actually need for this? Okay, so the only prerequisite really for being able to properly use AI is English fluency. You don't need to be intelligent, you don't need to be technical, you just need to be able to speak clear English. Super important. By the way, sorry about the fan noise, it is boiling in the UK, and I'm white, so I'm not used to heat, so I'm sweating like mad. So you also need curiosity, you need to be curious. This will push you to keep learning these tools, which are often overwhelming. There's always a new AI update, it's doing crazy things, and it's like, what? You need to be able to just be curious and, treat it like play. You're just exploring this new tool and using the 6-step formula that I'm about to give you to actually learn and understand these systems better and use them better as well. And then finally, attention span. Goes without saying, this video is not designed to be clickbaited. The thumbnail was, but I'm not here to sell you a course. I can use cameras. I have done video editing as a job. I'm a pretty good video editor actually. I'm pretty good with a camera. I can make this look as fancy as I want. But I purposely made this as boring as possible because I'm not here to entertain you, right? If you've got a short attention span, if you've got TikTok brain, this video ain't for you. Just go and find another silly, YouTube short about AI, right? This is actually a video I'm trying to compile as much value as possible, and at the end of this video, you will be a lot better at using AI. So yeah, if you've got a bad attention span, well, to be honest, if you've got a bad attention span, we're 2.5 minutes in. You've probably already clicked off, but if you haven't already, just go, right? So, why does prompting matter? Okay, so context reliance. AI relies on context and understanding to be able to provide a response, okay? The clearer your intentions, the better the output will be. Alright, so hallucination reduction. Hallucinations are essentially what we refer to as AI's mistakes. Now, when AI makes a mistake, it isn't always a hallucination, but if you've used AI long enough, you just notice that it just starts going off on its own little tangent and doing stupid shit, right? That's called a hallucination. They are inevitable. This is how we refer to mistakes that AI makes when it veers off into la la land, right? These are going to happen, but the frequency and severity is closely linked to how you actually prompt. Computers don't make mistakes, okay? Understand this, computers don't make mistakes. This is the first thing we learn in computer science. Humans make mistakes, computers interpret those mistakes and do what you've told them to do with it, and then output the response or whatever it is that you've asked it to do, and then it's obviously going to be wrong, and you see that and say that's not what I wanted, but you don't realize that you made a mistake in the first place. All right, computers are deterministic. They work on binary, ones and zeros. So generally, if the AI specifically is making a mistake, it could be a bug in the AI. It happens, but generally, it's probably your fault. So keep that in mind. And again, AI is literally trained on human data, and it is modeled to act, think, and process information like a human. If you treat it like a robot and like it's stupid, you will get a robotic and stupid response, alright? You need to treat it like a high-level apprentice, giving clear instructions with clear context and understanding to get the most out of it. If it doesn't know anything about you or your business yet, you've got to train it, alright? If you've hired someone and you say, right, can you just do a tax return? It's like, well, where do you have your invoices? Like, it doesn't know. It's not telepathic. If you've been working on the same chat for quite a while, then it will remember things. That's why I like using Grok and Claude for coding, because it remembers the long context chains. It does eventually forget things. But if you just open a chat or you're new to AI, like, it doesn't know anything about you. All right? It doesn't know anything. Okay? So here we go, a little graph here. I made a little graph for you monkey brain people out there that need visuals. Prompt quality, output quality, big fancy green arrow, right? The better your prompts are, the better output and value you'll get, all right? And obviously this is an oversimplification. AI is only as good as the data it's trained on, and factors like how niche your topic is and the complexity can also limit the quality. Anyways, let's get into the meat and bones. This is the perfect prompting recipe. All right, we've got task, context, exemplars, persona, format, and tone. All right, these are the 6 recipes. That's all you need to know. All right, let's go. This is task. Now, I want to clarify. This is probably the one you already know, but just let me just hear me out on this one. I've got some information to say about this one, but this is probably the one that you all already know and you already use every single day, right? The task is the core of the prompt, defining the specific action or goal you want the AI to accomplish. It's the foundation that guides the AI's response. Okay, so why does this matter? Well, it's obvious. It sets a clear objective, it acts as a mandatory starting point, and it ensures the AI is focused on delivering what you want, right? Best practices for this, always start with an action verb. Write, generate, analyze. Just tell it. First thing you ever need to tell it is what it needs to do, right? Because that's going to set off the prompt and the rest of the context we're about to give it with exactly what it needs to do, right? Is it going to write? Is it generating? Is it analyzing? Is it looking at a screenshot? If you put a screenshot, tell it first. Be precise about the end goal to avoid ambiguity and keep it concise. Don't waffle. I'm the biggest waffler known to man, right? And AI has massively improved my communication skills because it's taught me that most of the silly anecdotes that I come up with don't matter. Even this anecdote, maybe that didn't matter. Alright, so some quick tips. Avoid broad tasks like tell me about X. Narrow it down to the specific task that you want. And if it's complex, break it into smaller sequential tasks. Okay? So let's look at some examples. So throughout this video, we're going to be using these 2 examples of creating a study plan and then a job application. Alright, so the task for creating a study plan is create a 3-month study plan for a high school student preparing for final exams. Okay, and for the job application, write an email to apply for a software engineer position at a tech company. Very simple, and most of you have probably seen prompts like this and probably use prompts like this all the time. So don't click off because you think, oh, he's just telling me how to do this. This is really basic. The other 5 steps are going to expand on this a lot more, and I'm going to prove to you at the end the difference between just this on its own as a basic task prompt and providing the rest of the context. Okay, so the next is context. You need to set a background, alright? Context provides the background information that AI needs to tailor its responses effectively, narrowing down possibilities for more relevant outputs. Okay, so it helps AI understand the user situation, goals, constraints. It reduces generic responses by grounding the tasks in specifics to you, and it answers key questions. Who is the user? What's the goal? What's the environment? Alright, so best practices for this is include relevant details like the user background, purpose, and limitations. Like if you ask it to make you an email to, I don't know, a hiring manager of a company, like provide it more background, like who are you, what do you do? Use these 3 guiding questions, for example. What's the user's background? So for you, what's your background? What does success look like for you? And what's the environment that it's specifically operating in? Okay, so if you're a computer science major and you're writing an email to a hiring manager, all right, well, tell it, you're at school learning computer science. Can you still see me there? I know the sun's quite bright and it's burning me a lot. And then avoid overloading with unnecessary details to maintain efficiency. It doesn't care if you're a vegan or that you go to Starbucks, like, it doesn't matter. Just literally give it the environment that's completely relevant to the specific task you're asking it to do, all right? So quick tips, prioritize information that directly impacts the task and test context by removing details to see if the prompt will still work, okay? A lot of this is just testing, all right? Once you've got this framework nailed down, just practice like testing, like changing the context. If it's giving you a bad response, just change the context, change the environment, and see if you get a better response. So let's look at some examples of context. So for the study plan, I'm a high school student studying 2 hours daily, aiming to pass math and science finals with 90% scores, with access to textbooks and online resources. Super in-depth, but also super clear. There's a lot of clarity in this. It tells you they're a high school student studying 2 hours daily. They're aiming to pass specifically maths and science, so it knows that it's about maths and science, not anything random, and it wants to hit 90% scores. And they've also got access to online resources and textbooks. They have internet connection, which is important. I'm not going to read the job application one, but you can read that yourself. I'm more worried about time. I don't want to waste too much of your time. But yeah. So next, the third one is exemplars. Okay, this is you're essentially setting a framework, right? You need to essentially give it examples to guide the AI's output by showing what the desired result should look like. Okay, again, AI are trained on human data. They think like they don't think necessarily like humans, but as close to humans as you can get. All right. You'll notice in this, after giving you some information and context, what do? I show you an actual example. AI also needs this. It needs an actual example, all right? So again, why does this matter? It provides a reference point, reducing guesswork. Again, the purpose of this is to reduce hallucinations and errors. A lot of errors come from AI needing to guess things. This is why we provide the context. AI doesn't need to try and guess things, because again, it doesn't know you. It doesn't know anything about you. So if it tries to guess, it's probably going to be wrong. So you want to reduce that guesswork and just tell it, this is an example of something that's done the way I want it to be done. Do it like this, all right? It enhances output quality by setting a clear standard, and particularly useful for creative or complex tasks. The more if you're writing a complex business plan, show it a business plan that you like, and it'll do it, all right? So the best practices are include specific examples or templates relevant to the task. Use frameworks like the STAR method for structured responses. Again, you want to be so structured and concise with the prompts that you give it, and keep examples concise to avoid overwhelming the prompt. The more information you give it, the more likely it's to forget it or not understand what you're saying. So just be super concise. Quick tips: if no exact examples exist, describe the structure clearly and use real world examples. Example, job description for professional tasks. Again, I know I'm going to repeat this a lot, but just be concise and clear. That is the most important part, right? So let's look at some examples of examples, right? Structure the plan like this: week 1, topic activity, week 2, topic activity time. Okay, very simple. For job application, follow this structure: greeting, introduction, mentioning role, skills and experience, closing with a call to action. Right? It's literally telling you you're literally telling it this is the exact structure that I want. This is what I want. Follow this structure in this example. Right? Super important. So the persona, this is the exciting bit. This is my favorite bit and why I love AI, right? You can literally tell it to be someone. All right. So when you're asking it to write you an email, you're not asking the AI to write the email. It needs to be someone, right? So the persona assigns a specific role or perspective to the AI. It makes it respond as if it were an expert or a character, adding depth and relevance. All right. So why does this matter? It aligns the AI's response with the expertise needed for that task, right? It enhances credibility and tone by mimicking a professional or specific voice, and it makes outputs more engaging or contextually appropriate, all right? If you're asking it to write you an email and you've not told it that you're a computer science major, then it's not going to know that, and it's going to write it in a completely stupid way. And it's also not going to know what information to pull. If you provide it this context and it knows who it is that's writing the email, then it can pull a lot of information that you wouldn't even thought of. All right. So best practice for this: choose a persona that matches the task needs. For example, a teacher, a recruiter. Be specific. Okay. For example, a senior data scientist rather than a scientist. And optionally, you can use famous or fictional characters for creative prompts. Again, AI is trained and built on human data of basically everything that's on the internet, and there's a lot of things on the internet about famous people and fictional characters. So utilize where a lot of AI's data and knowledge is, which is the internet, and a lot of famous information about famous people is on the internet. So utilize that. Okay, so some quick tips: avoid overly niche personas unless the AI is likely to understand them, and test personas to ensure they improve output quality. All right, again, just keep testing these things. So let's look at some examples. We'll just focus on the study plan for now. Act as an experienced high school teacher specialising in maths and science. So you've literally told it that you're a high school teacher, and so it's going to do, it's going to do the task with the context and the example as if it was a high school teacher, not as an AI. This is super important. Okay, so next, this is format. Set the actual structure. This is the most logical side of it. It's literally just tell it what you want it to do, like what the output is. A lot of people just rely on basic outputs. A lot of people ask it to do something and then it gives it a text output, and then they have to faff around reformatting that on Google Sheets or whatever. Literally tell it the format you want it to do. It saves time, it clarifies expectations, and it reduces need for post-processing or reformatting, right? So the best practice is visualize the desired output, right? What is the output of this? I use AI every single day for coding, so I need to tell it, write it in Java or write it in SQL, right? Tell it the exact format that you want it to be in, right? For example, a table, a list, an email. All the main AI tools have the format built in for tables, lists, emails, or in code, right? It can literally generate it in code format, in table format. So specify it, okay? And be explicit about length and detail level. Like, tell it to be super detailed or super concise. How many words you want, how many bullet points you want, okay? Common formats are like bullet points, paragraphs, tables, markdown, a lot of different coding languages. I think most, on Grok specifically, most coding languages are built in. So it'll actually build it in that coding language, so I can copy and paste that as code onto it, alright? And then for complex tasks, request a specific layout, like H2 headers for sections. If you're coding some HTML, and it's quite a big website, make sure you tell it what tags you need for each header. Anyways, let's look at some examples. So, present the plan as a table with columns, week, subject, topic, activity, and time. So again, very, very similar to exemplar, but you're sort of reiterating and focusing the exact format, alright? Because if you just left it on that, it might go off on a different tangent. We're telling it that we're still using the topic, activity, time, but we're focusing and making sure it knows that it needs to be a table, alright? And again, this is for job application. I'm not going to read it for time, but you can read that yourself. So, we've got tone. Define the actual voice that AI is speaking in, alright? Tone defines the voice or the style that AI's response, ensuring it matches the intended audience and purpose. The AI knows exactly what it needs to do and is acting as a persona, okay? How does this persona sound, alright? It aligns the response with the desired emotional and professional impact. It makes outputs more engaging and appropriate for the context, and it prevents mismatched communication. If you're sending an email to your boss and it writes it in a slangy, silly way, then it's probably going to get you fired, right? Make sure you tell it exactly what tone to speak in. If you're writing a letter of condolences, or you're writing something that's, you're writing a business plan, and you want it to be concise and you want it to be confident. If you're, trying to get VC funding, for example, and you submit a business plan to an investor and you write it in a very, reserved way, you want to be confident. Make sure you tell it needs to speak confident, right? Use descriptive adjectives: friendly, confident, formal. Combine keywords for more nuance, right? Clear and enthusiastic. If you're unsure, just ask AI to suggest the tone, keywords for your scenario. You don't have to use AI to output what you want. You can also use AI to create the best prompts for AI. I do it all the time. I have 2 AI windows open all the time. One for my prompts and one for the actual task, right? I literally tell it what I want it to do. It knows all the context. I've already given it all this context from the 6-step formula. And then I can just quickly type in what I want to do. Oh, I want to build this feature. Oh, I want to write this email. Alright, here's the information, blah blah blah, it's a mess, and then it will make that into a prompt that I'll put that in the next AI model, so in the next AI window, so that the AI's got a perfect prompt. So you can use AI to make the perfect prompts as well, right? You could literally copy and paste the script for this video, or note down any of your notes you've written into an AI, so it knows all the stuff you've learned in this video, and then it can literally generate you the perfect prompts, alright? It's cool. So, quick tips: match tone to audience. Alright, so again, formal for bosses, casual for peers, and avoid overly complex tone descriptions to keep prompts simple. Again, don't go off on a tangent. I'm a big waffler, but don't go off on a big tangent. Keep it nice and concise, okay? So, let's look at some examples of tone. Use an encouraging and clear tone to motivate a student. And the tone for the job application is writing a professional yet approachable tone suitable for a hiring manager. This is really important. I am British, so make sure you spell words in British English and avoid using American words. This is so important. The amount of times I get American bloody ChatGPT generated emails from people that I know are from the UK. It is so annoying. I know you've used ChatGPT and not written that yourself, alright? Make sure you tell it that you're British. If you're speaking to your British boss and you're speaking in, you've generated this in an American tone, it's going to speak American. Even if you're generating instructions on how to do something, if you're struggling on a task specifically and you want help with it, even if it's like, fitting a light bulb, and you tell it American, it's going to give you context and tell you based on American information. So clarify that you are British and you need to speak in a British tone, right? And this sort of lines exactly with the persona. So, for example, the teacher here that's building this study plan, the persona is an experienced high school teacher who is encouraging and likes to motivate students, right? You could have written that as a messy prompt, but because it's structured separately, the AI knows exactly who it is and how it speaks, right? Anyways, let's move on to the recap. So, we've got the task, the actual job itself, the context, the information and background of what the situation you're in right now for that task, the exemplars, right? Actual examples of this task being done properly or how you want it structured. The persona, who is this person doing this task? Who is it? The format, exactly. Do I want it in a table? Do I want it in copy and paste bullet points? Tell it the format. And tone, who is actually speaking? Who is the persona? All right. Now, Let's test it. This is what I promised you at the start. We're actually going to test it live, and I'm going to show you the difference of using AI. So I already tested it earlier, so I know it works. But let's just open to AI chat. See, I'm using Grok. This is Super Grok. This is the premium version. But this will work on literally any chat model: Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever. So here we've actually created the perfect prompt. So while you were listening to my voice, all right, I secretly built you a perfect prompt to create a study plan. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste this in here, the full one, and keep the headers as well, the persona, the format, because you want to, again, literally tell it this is the task I want, this is the context, this is the example, this is the persona. Tell it exactly what it is that you're telling it, and then let's just steal just the task, because this is how most people actually prompt. Oh, that sun's getting in my eyes, I do apologise. Okay, this is how most people ask it to do. Make me a ingredient list for my shopping, right? People prompt like this. So let's just send this off, right? And we're gonna let it cook. It's gonna produce it. All right, and you can see, right, it's not actually a bad response. Okay, it's telling me in month 1, it's foundation building. Week 1 to 2, review syllabus, blah blah blah. Right, cool. All right, I guess that would help. So your daily routine, you're going to study for 3 to 5 hours, take 10-minute breaks, maintain consistent sleep and exercise. Okay, that's okay, right? Most people will be happy with that. But we're professionals over here. We're following the 6-step recipe. So let's have a look what Grok does with our super prompt. That's really getting in my eyes, by the way. Oh, look at that. So a basic task-based prompt, it's giving you something important, like valuable and important there. It's not bad, but again, when I mentioned about formatting earlier on, like I've got to now sit there and go, right, well, I've got to create a table. Week 1, how do I format this? What columns do I use? It's just a lot of nonsense. Like, I don't actually need to know. And if I'm stressed for exams, I don't really want to be thinking about how many minutes of break I need. Like, I want it concise. I want an actual study plan, not the outline of a study plan. Okay. So let's look at the proper prompt, the professional prompt, the perfect prompt. It's literally just give me what I've asked it to. It's give me an actual study plan. I can literally just copy this now or download it. Downloaded that. All right. I don't know if this will format that. Oh, it's going to open it in Xcode. Right. We don't want that in a programming language. But that literally doesn't matter because I can just copy and paste that. Get off. I hate technology sometimes. But I can literally copy and paste that or just use it on the AI and I've got exactly what I asked for. I don't have to reformat this, and this has saved me like an hour of fucking around. Sorry for my language. But like, this is literally the difference between basic monkey brain prompts and using your brain and structuring it in the perfect prompt style of having a task, the context, the exemplar, the persona, the format, the tone. The difference is insane, and this is a really basic prompt. It's a basic study plan. If you're asking it for business plans or instructions or bigger, more complex tasks, even coding, right, the difference is going to be massive when you actually provide it this context. And now if I ask it anything else, it has all this context, all right? So how many breaks should I have? Give me a break timetable. So now I can be a bit more, less concise. I don't have to give us in-depth prompts because it's already got all this context without having to explain it loads on here. And there we go, another table. Okay, I know all the breaks I need to have. Perfect. Right, so let's get back to this. So, quickly recapping. All right. Again, I did put a disclaimer. This is not an exact graph. This is not, to detail. So don't sue me if you get a really bad output. But, a general rule to follow and something that I hope the main thing you take from this video is that your prompt quality directly correlates, generally speaking, to your output quality and thus the value you get out of AI. So if you want AI to be better, you need to be better. Simple as that. So there's the, creating the perfect prompts beginner's guide. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm sorry about the sun, and I hope I didn't waffle too much. Oh my days. Oh my days. But I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope it provided some value. I've no 997. I'm going to take this off. This is disgraceful. I've no 997 course to sell you. I've no scammy, link for you to click. If you like videos like this and you want to learn more about AI and these systems, then give me a follow. And yeah, see you in a bit.